community can learn from the Somaliland and democracy. And the speaker or the guest speaker of this lecture is Dr. Richard. Is someone who is the right person to talk about this topic. And if I give you a brief introduction about Dr. Richard, Dr. Richard is a sociologist and anthropologist, and he have his background is, and he's a Cameroonian, plus he's also a Canadian. And now what we are thinking, he's also a Somalilander, because he have been here for around a year, and he have studied extensively for the Somaliland and democracy and relationship with the Somaliland and Taiwan. So he have affiliation with the Institute of Agricultural Research for the Development in Cameroon, and at the same time he is a lecturer on University of Ottowa, Canada. His interest or current research, he is interested in international relations, diplomacy, governance, and he's also focusing nowadays more on the diplomacy between Somaliland and Taiwan. And he have done a field work in both countries. He have been in Somaliland for nearly a year, and he was in Taiwan for a year and so. So now he is someone who have an authority figure talking about this relationship and the diplomacy on Somaliland. He have done before on a PhD in sociology from Shanghai University, and now his PhD is anthropology, and he is nearly completing that PhD, and it's from the University of Ottowa. So his current PhD is related to the diplomacy between Ottawa and between Somaliland and Taiwan. So he wrote so many articles and books in French and English both. So he's someone who is also a bilingual, and when it comes in education and in academy. So he is and means someone who knows well about Somaliland, who have been here for for this year, and he met so many government officials and interviewed so many of them. So he also have been with us at Hanoi University, Hargeisa University, and different university. He was also in Hargeisa Cultural Center as well. So we are really happy about him again, and he is now in Canada. He have left and he completed about his field work, but it's not his last time to be in Somaliland. Still, he want to be part of Somaliland. So we are expecting him also to come back again, and meanwhile we will be in touch with him. So without further taking much time, and I will welcome Dr. Richard and to take about his lecture. So welcome, doctor, and we are really very happy about coming again to Hanoi University. He was also the first, and he did and give the first short course from the Hanoi University, and that was an understanding about sociology, consulting sociology, and it was a very fantastic 1 week and short course, which made understood about sociology for so many. I think the participants were nearly 200 students. So we are very happy, and Dr. Richard, for your support and for also the support for our Somalilanders to understand about our diplomacy and about our politics. So welcome, Doctor. Let me hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Dr. Abdi Fattah, and thank you, Dr. Jama, for the introductory lecture, which was very interesting and which gave a very deep understanding of Somaliland domestic realities. And you are the right person because you have been in touch with different officials, be it from inside and outside. So I was enjoying also with the rest of the participants. So I am also conveying my kind regards definitely to all the participants. It should be late currently in Somaliland, but you are all connected, meaning that, we are all looking towards the same direction, which is to learn more from each other. So without due course, we will delve into kind of my presentation. I have a slide that I prepared, but definitely it will be a conversation mutually shared, meaning, it is not one-sided. You might bring your input. You can stop me anytime during the presentation. So the topic that was suggested to me, or the theme was, Somaliland journey towards democracy. And then I tried kind of to harness it towards this title, Lesson for the Global Community. First of all, I would like to give a little bit of context of about why I decided to focus on Somaliland. As the president of Hanun University presented recently, I'm from Cameroon originally, although now I am based in Canada. But it's not common for people of, how you would rank them, West or Central Africa, to get interest in the Horn of Africa and mostly also beyond, which is Taiwan. But I was interested just because it was a blind spot. A blind spot when you are learning to drive. It is the area that you think less about when you are focused. Most often we are focused on driving ahead of us, and then we forget about, the surroundings. And most often these are the areas where the accident can be tragic. So this is how I perceive Taiwan and Somaliland within the international system. Because most often we focus on countries such as, if it is about Africa, it will be, everyone will study their own country. If you are Nigerian, you will study Nigeria, Ghanaian will study Ghana, or a Frenchman will study France. There was kind of a focus globally on what will be called, UN member states. UN member states was the main focus of political science and also diplomacy students. But when we focus on this, we forget a big part of this humanity, which is not only, about the UN. There is also what has been called abusively as unrecognized countries. But actually, it is just non-UN member countries. It means apart from the UN, the United Nations, there are different organizations, and Edna Adan from Somaliland was the president of Unrecognized Countries Association for many years until she stepped down this year after willfully, because she wanted to give the chance and opportunity to other people. So, there are different entities, and this is where it gets interesting, because when the discourse is dominated only by, UN member countries or recognized countries, we give less voice to non-UN member countries who have also a lot to teach us. And this is the example of Taiwan and Somaliland. And I embarked in this study because I started my second PhD program when the two countries, I call them countries or territories, if UN member countries will kind of accuse me for that. But you know, for these two countries, they started their relations in 2020. It's the year I started my studies for the PhD, I mean, on diplomacy. But it was interesting because today, first, Taiwan started to amaze the rest of humanity when during the COVID pandemic, people noticed that without Taiwan, specifically the TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Industry or semiconductor company, the rest of the world would stop functioning because our computers and you know, our appliances, devices, even in, you know, the war industry, because nowadays we talk about war everywhere, but we forget that, or drones, we forget that they are all devices that need chips to function. And during the COVID era, this is when the world realized that this tiny territory that was considered as, you know, unrecognized or non-UN member country was relevant, was very important to the rest of humanity, because pretty much nothing would function if Taiwan was in shortage of, you know, manufacturing the chips. So, and the same thing happens now as the attention of the world is shifting towards the Horn of Africa. You know, when what is happening currently, you know, with uh, pretty much 30% of global business passing through the Aden, you know, Gulf, and then people are noticing that if this area is not safe, you know, daily and basic commodities will become more and more expensive because passing through the Cape of the Cape of Good Hope, you know, through South Africa, will become costly for the rest of humanity. I won't say only the rest of Europe, although Europe is the most dependent, and of course America, but you know, pretty much the whole region, and also countries who are landlocked, like Ethiopia. So, and this is where, and in the Horn of Africa, definitely countries like Djibouti and Somaliland become very important. So this is a little bit the context that I wanted to give so that you understand why I decided to get interested in this topic, because in a way we are all linked in a way or the other to what is happening. So if Somaliland is not in good condition, the rest of the world will also suffocate. We will all suffer from it. If Taiwan is not in good condition, the rest of the world will suffer about from this sickness. So it is in this understanding that we started to say, okay, it's not only recognized countries that can, you know, dictate the agenda in the global arena, but also unrecognized countries. And now we have specifically the case of the elections, the presidential elections that just happened in Somaliland, which is another opportunity that gives us the momentum to speak about what the world can learn, and specifically in terms of democracy. Let us learn a little bit, you know, some generalities about what is democracy. Of course, there is no generic or standard definition of democracy, because every country will apply it or implement it according to its understanding. But I've gathered a certain number of criteria which might serve as some aspects from where we can observe democracy. But again, it's not the full list, you know, it's not exhaustive. You might find different other aspects, but most often we might think of free and fair elections when we talk of democracy, and then also the rule of law, meaning there should be a constitution guiding the actions of people in that country, but also the separation of powers. You know, when the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive are separated, when it's not only, the Minister of Justice who will impose everything, or the president will be the head of the executive, who will impose, confiscate everything in his hand, or the president of the National Assembly, who will decide everything. So when all these powers are separate, it is one indication, commonly admitted by some, that this is one of the criteria of democracy. There is also the protection of civil liberties, freedom of speech, press, assembly, and association, but also the protection of minority rights and religious freedom. So these are some aspects. There is also active citizen participation. It is, the level to which citizens can be informed and actively feel involved in political process. We have heard of countries with 100% or 90%, victory for the president, but most often, or in some occasions, the participation rate would be very low as 20 or even 25%. So meaning that there is not active participation, which might jeopardize democracy in this context. There is also accountability and transparency. This is a context where leaders and public officials can be held accountable through legal and political processes. Governments should operate transparently, providing citizens access to information about policies and budgets and decision making. So we have also pluralism and tolerance. We have decentralization of power. It is a little bit what I was earlier explaining about the executive, judiciary, and the parliamentarian power. When they are separate, it is a good indication, but also the capacity to allow the grassroots movements, the traditional rulers, for instance, to get involved. So we have also peaceful transfer of power. Is there a transfer of power when there is election, or there is always fight about who won, who lost? These are some indications about, the health or the own health of a country with regards to democracy, at least with regards to what is considered nowadays as the standard. There is also equality and inclusiveness. It is an aspect that makes sure if all individuals have equal political rights and opportunities to participate in the democratic process, regardless of gender, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status. And of course, the fourth power, which is the freedom of press. How are journalists treated in the country? How are people aspiring to more voicing out their concerns, their frustrations, their desires treated in a public arena? So these are some aspects on which, it's up to you and I to see how Somaliland may rank with regards to democracy. And then from this, we might project what Somaliland can teach the rest of Africa and the rest of the world. Because as we said, we won't consider for granted that being part of the Club of Nations, which is considered the biggest nowadays, which is the UN, the United Nations, and which was, started through the Peace Treaty of Westphalia in 1648, and then evolved through the Montevideo Convention in 1933. Of course, that has been also preceded by the League of Nations in 1919. And, with the creation, again, of the UN in 1945 and upward, specifically with the Vienna Convention in 1961. This is the main context that kind of founds the UN as the main body, but we can, objectively observe that there are so many UN member countries that are not functioning well, where you can observe that the 11 criteria, if we just limit to these ones, are not functioning. So that's why it's high time that we might also look at the blind spot. And the blind spot here are countries that are not part of the UN system, but which have a strong level of democracy, or a strong level of freedom of press, or diversity, and which can be also good teachers for the rest of the world. So we will go to the case of Somaliland specifically, and we will observe, together with your contribution, which aspect might give us, some basic strength on which we can stand to, present Somaliland as a model, or at least as a starter in, this capacity to teach the rest of the world. So the first point is the indigenous nation building. According to my observation, living in Somaliland for a few months and almost a year, as the president has presented, we can definitely observe that there is, a capacity of understanding power from an insider's perspective. It is not something that is decided outside. Somaliland prioritizes peace and democracy, with citizens establishing functional government institutions and enacting a constitution approved by popular vote. This was the case, for instance, in 2001. And definitely we can notice that this direct participation is a grassroots-driven approach that has created a stable and effective political system, by the fact that I went there, I lived there, and I came back safe and sound. So it's a functioning system. But also it is indigenous in the sense that, it's, of course, there have been many critiques about Johan Leves, who wrote Pastoral Democracy in 1961, but we can still consider that, clans have strong say in how Somaliland is managed, and in this sense, it is based on traditional values of, pastoralism, nomadism, and this is also based on consensus with regards to many aspects of social life. So traditional clan leaders have played a pivotal role in negotiating peace and governance, and this was the case in 1993 in what was called Boroma Conference, which allowed clan leaders, but also some member of the elite of Somaliland community to gather and discuss about the future of the nation that today is, being built, and about which we can gather and discuss. So there is also one aspect that is peculiar to Somaliland, which is, the integration of traditional and modern governance, notably, the Council of Elders, which is called Gurti, but also the fact that it is backed by the parliament, which is kind of more of Westphalian type of governance, while the Gurti would be more, Somali type, and with, we might consider more of a taste of Arabic style governance. So this kind of combination of different models have given Somaliland, at least so far, some aspects of strength in terms of governance. So there is also the fact that the population itself feels totally committed to strengthening this democracy or this governance system. This has been manifested by a very strong participation in the parliamentary elections of 2005, but also the 2010 presidential elections, where Ahmed Mohamed Sinlayo's peaceful transfer of power was hailed internationally as a benchmark of democratic governance in Africa. So you see the fact that it's not only today, but there has been a history, there has been a background of peaceful transfer of power has given the sense that the population has been backing this, and definitely the specific example of this year in November, when 63.92% of the votes were registered, and specifically for the winner, meaning that there was a very large gap, which is not common, when we look at the general environment in Africa and even in Europe. We have seen recently when Joe Biden won the election, it wasn't easy for Trump supporters to concede the defeat. And there have been, assaults and even killings, at highest level. And we have also recently seen, even assassination attempt over now President-elect Trump during the election campaign. So, we didn't see that in Somaliland. So we might say that in those aspects, definitely Somaliland has a lot to teach the world. But there is also resilience. Somaliland is a country that is being built from ashes. It was a country that is coming out of a long civil war, and then which is rebuilding itself. And you are, for those who are based currently in Somaliland, we can see the change. It's not so obvious for a 30 years country to be rebuilt and have functioning institutions within just 30 years. So there is some aspects to be to consider. Which talks about the economic dynamism, and also the security. I remember during one of the interviews I had with one of the ministers who returned, from the United States, and he told me this anecdote, this little story when he arrived in the store the next day to buy something, and then he was surprised that the store owner was calling him with his name. He was amazed because he never told people his name. So what happened is that, overnight, just at his arrival, the news have gone very far, because there was a very collaborative network of intelligence, of information sharing, so that intruders or outsiders would be easily identified. And if they are risks for security, they can be easily mastered. They can easily be neutralized. But in his case, it was a good thing, because it gave him a good image of his country. It means, he couldn't, even as member of the diaspora, he couldn't, even as he could speak fluently Somali, he was Somali in looking. So there was no thing that would allude to him being an outsider. But the news had gone so far, so quick, that even the store owner was informed. So this was of course, there are many of these kind of aspects where we can see the resilience, but the capacity of trust among the community, among the population towards protecting, jealously the country that is being built by the contribution of everyone. But there is also the emphasis on localized peace building, definitely, as I earlier presented through the Burho conference. But there is a growing number of women's role in peace building. I've had an interview with one lady who is part of the army, who is doing a beautiful work and who is in training in Ethiopia currently, and who is one of the leading voices of women, empowerment and capacity to contribute. Definitely, there is a lot to do in that arena, in that domain, with, a big gap, definitely, because around 50% of the population is made up of women, but we can see, of course, a pro rata currently, but there are raising voices or raising people from the feminine gender, trying to counterbalance or to bring more balance in society. So this is the aspect that we might also say that it is a lesson, because there are still some areas of the world where there is not even a dream of seeing a place for women. But there is also the advancement of civil liberties. The Gaboye community has been historically, for instance, marginalized in Somali territories, not only in Somaliland, but in the 5 regions, in the Ogaden, but also northern Kenya, but Djibouti also, but southern Somalia. So the conditions are definitely very difficult, according to many accounts and to the interviews I had with many among that community. But for the first time, Somaliland made the difference by, bringing more diversity among people, more inclusiveness. We can see that this is a big lesson in terms of respect of diversity. We can see more inclusiveness, more dynamism with regards to appointing officials. Of course, it's not the only criteria. We have seen 11 of them, but these are signs mentioning that there are hopes for better futures, and that deserve to be mentioned when we want to consider the lesson that Somaliland can teach the rest of the world, and specifically UN member countries. So in another arena, there is also the contribution of international relations, or the contact with different bodies, with different countries. This is the case, definitely the ties with Taiwan, which stands as the flagship of foreign diplomacy in Somaliland, which has the first time in history a Taiwan representative office. Most often we have seen in different countries, such as in Nigeria, in South Africa, what was termed as Taipei representative office, because of the conflict with China. But for the first time in the world, Somaliland, instead for me, agreed, the label of Taiwan, as a new nation, or as a nation in construction. So this is one aspect that deserves to be mentioned, and definitely this replicates also into understanding that Somaliland is building its democracy by building a network with like-minded countries who give certain place to the aspects that we have mentioned in terms of dynamism in a country or in terms of democracy, but apart from Taiwan, definitely we have the United States, which is interested into, relocating its military base, or maybe diversifying, why not, the military bases that it has in Djibouti, but also United Kingdom, the former colonial power, not colonial per se, but protectorate. The United Kingdom was the protectorate of Somaliland, and it's still present. It has a representative office or liaison office, as they would officially term it. But also Ethiopia with the MOU that was signed, and which seems to promise many things in terms of mutual interests, and some have commented that the package might include recognition for Somaliland, but we are yet to see. Hopefully, or we think that the days or the weeks ahead might be pregnant in news. We will see. But the United Arab Emirates is present and is one of the main investors in the Berbera port, as you know. So, and definitely also we might mention the European Union, which has a representative. We might extend also to the Danish President Danida. So globally, we might target Somaliland's lessons to the rest of the world through aspects such as education. With expansion of higher education, we can see a diversity of universities, and Hanun University hosting us today is a blatant example showing that nothing is concentrated by the public sector, but entrepreneurship is diverse, and this might also indicate a certain level of democracy in the country. The healthcare system is improving. I visited private structures, but also public structures in the health domain. They were clean. I was myself given a treatment for once in Hargeisa Public Hospital, Hargeisa Group Hospital. It was clean, and compared to many countries I visited. So these are some examples that can be considered, to be copied and to be diversified by many other surrounding countries. But also environmental conservation with a good system of recycling, weekly recycling, but also different other initiatives. I have had some students working in those sectors and who are even directors, which shows, that it's not only about the present generations, but also about the future generation, which the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, in terms of sustainable development, is mostly preoccupied. And, even without being part of that body, Somaliland is already preparing to show that they can be trusted to teach the world, or, to serve as a good example in that domain. So to summarize, aspects such as local solutions to problems, commitment to democracy, resilience without recognition, inclusive peace building, focus on self-reliance can be considered as aspects, but not exhaustive. It's not the full package. There are different aspects, and I hope the interaction that we will have through the Q&A session will grant us the opportunity, to delve more, because my point is not, to monopolize the floor, but also to learn out of your experience, because I still have my dissertation to write. So the input you will bring will also be very relevant, to improve my understanding, because this lesson is not only made, actually, or this lecture, is not only made for Somaliland people, but as we said, lesson for the rest of the world. So I should be able to deliver this lecture, in Washington, D.C., in Yaoundé, in Abuja, or in Taipei, so that people can really feel they are learning something new and interesting. And that's why your collaboration will be also relevant to improve this. So this is globally what I had prepared, and I will now give the floor to President